At-risk kids fighting to turn their lives around, and they're doing it by fighting.
At City Boxing in Las Vegas, the discipline of the sweet science is helping young men and women find solid footing. That's the subject of tonight's Vegas Lost. News 3's John Trainer is here with that.
And Jesse Vargas, Sean Porter spent enough time at City Boxing, you'll see some big names. But it's the no names that are leaving the impact.
Trying to fill that void that I had. I want to be the person that I wanted to applaud me. We need men to come over here to these kids and give them the verification that they are men and that they're not less and that they don't, and applaud them for proper things. You can't tell me that this guy can give me a high five and make me feel good for robbing a grocery store or something, but if I would have been in a different situation and got straight A's or did something right, if somebody would have been there to applaud me for that, whichever one I would have got the applaud for and the guidance to go towards, I would have done. Yeah. It's just a matter of I got it here instead of getting it where it should have been.
We just got to give people that.
We have to give these young men that. It has to be done, or we're going to continue to lose kids.
All right, so right now, City Boxing works with the county at no cost. They're offering these memberships for free. They eat the cost of those. They're hoping to work to get state funding. They tell us that this program is one they need to expand. And you listen to that guy Keegan there and you realize, yeah.
Yeah, hard to argue with that.
What's up, everybody? Big Herc 916 getting down with Fresh Out. Making sure you hit that subscribe button and share the channel. You know, we got a special interview for you guys here today from Las Vegas. I got my man Vague. We've been trying to make this happen for a minute, and he has a hell of a story, so we're going to get into it.
Yeah.
Vague, tell the people a little bit about where you're from and how you grew up, man.
Yeah, so I grew up in Vegas, born in 1990, Ely, Nevada. About, I want to say 8 or 9 months before I even turned a year old, my mom came back down to Vegas with my father, where they originally met, and I've been here the entire time.
Okay. So what was it like as far as a child? You know, did you have both parents in the household? You know, was it a pretty good childhood? Did you, skate, BMX? What would you?
Yeah, so basically at 2 years old, I actually remember my dad walking out. Kind of a crazy situation. My mom and dad would fight a lot, but one day I remember specifically he walked out and just never came back. So from 2 and up, my dad just wasn't in my life at all. A phone call every once in a while, but he disappeared for years at a time. At a young age, I got into basketball a little bit. Inner city Vegas, basketball. I don't think anybody really realized what Vegas was turning into at the time. In the 90s, it was more like just a cleaner environment. You know what I'm saying? Like, there wasn't so much low income. You could buy a house off of $14 an hour. You know, so everybody was kind of doing good. It wasn't very much poverty. But by the time 2000, 2003 hit, everybody was struggling. It went from being decent neighborhoods to inner city, drug infested, just crazy areas, you know.
So you had a gap between like the rich and the poor. You can kind of see it.
Yeah, there was summer. You know, you got summer. Anybody from Vegas knows there's Summerlin, and then as you start making your way down, you know, you just get worse and worse as you go further down. And we were pretty far down. I ended up going to high school at a place called Clark, and then I also went to Bonanza. And Clark was, man, it was just a rough area. It was real bad, and that's where we ended up, you know, meeting up with a lot of people that ended up changing the trajectory of my life.
Did you have any male role models outside of, like, you know, once your dad left that kind of influenced you, or?
Yeah, so for the most part, I didn't. It was really hard because I was a very slender kid. I was really skinny. I didn't get very tall until later on, so I was a really small kid. And as I had talked about the neighborhoods changing, there were a lot less kids that looked like me, you know? Now, that I never noticed that. My mom never pointed it out, but a lot of other people noticed it. So it was a lot of, you know, me being white, it was real easy to pick on me being small too, right? So back to the role model thing. So no, I didn't have anybody really watch my back, protect me, nothing. I would be, in middle school, there'd be kids that failed the 8th grade 3-4 times. They're 16, 17 years old. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, these guys are grown men.
You got beers in 8th grade, huh?
I'm telling you, lineups, everything, shooting dice. I'll never forget my first day at Brindley High School. I would walk in 6th grade, 12 years old, they're shooting dice and they're gangbanging, thugging, and fist fighting on the first day of school. And I'll never forget thinking like, man, I don't belong here. I'm not going to make it. You know what I mean? It's like a Shark Tank. And this is only middle school. So, yeah, I had nobody to really watch over me. And I'm glad you brought that up because it caused me to constantly look for acceptance. Constantly look for, because what I'm seeing is I'm seeing a bunch of guys that are carrying guns, shooting dice, gangbanging, selling drugs. And it's like, man, they're very accepted. They're strong, you know, and so really the only role models I had, I didn't even know personally. I would just watch them, you know. It was all street guys, really, you know.
So when did you first start getting into trouble? I mean, as far as like once you seen this other element, because I know that's when I got exposed around high school and I started seeing that same element.
Right. You know, unfortunately for me, I shouldn't have skipped high school because it really started in middle school. We got through, so we're thinking around 2002, so 2002, I hit 6th grade. This is when Vegas has really changed and the gangbanging and the drugs really start kicking in the inner city. And I would say about 13 years old was the first time I was exposed to weed. And then by the time I was 14, a bunch of my homeboys were doing meth. Smoking meth in the bathroom at Garside Middle School. Garside, one of the worst middle schools on earth probably. That's when I started getting really exposed to drugs. Gangbanging started. A lot of my Mexican homies taking trips to Mexico, coming back, going out to California, coming back. All of a sudden, all my Mexican homies are Southerners, you know? And then, you know, the meth was just crazy. There was crack. There were other drugs too, but it was a lot of the homies started using meth and selling meth around the age of like 13, 14.
Yeah, that meth is a monster, bro. It just, ooh, man.
Turning little kids into zombies, you know, monsters at a young age.
So did you ever go to juvenile hall or get caught up in that little phase too, or?
You know, not so much for me. I was the first time I smoked weed, I was 13. Me and my homeboy G were walking down to his apartment, and I hit the blunt. Didn't expect much. Boom, my world changed. You know, at 13 years old, I was scared to death. I kind of curled up and I just freaked out. So for me, after that experience, it was like drugs aren't for me. Yeah. You know what I mean? I got real lucky. G never did meth or anything like that either. He was more like me where he would just smoke the weed. But yeah, man. So I stayed away from the drugs mainly because the weed freaked me out so bad I couldn't imagine what hardcore drugs would do to me. Yeah. So while everybody else was dabbling, you know what I'm saying, I kind of stayed away.
That kind of scared me too, man. I mean, I seen I was even at the time intimidated of marijuana because I was like always like, man, I got to be on point. So when I started, you know, seeing the homies do that, drinking, and then I didn't see meth until later, but like you said, I've seen what meth did to people and how they be like on one. I'm like, damn. Yeah, man. You know,
for days.
Yeah. For days. Stealing. I mean, dude, their grandmother, their friends, robbing everybody.
And anything that moves. You know, and I give one of my homeboys, let's call him Dre. One of my homeboys, Dre, man, his parents, I got to, so my mom was solid. She was my rock. She was the greatest, she's the greatest mother you could ever create. You know what I mean? If anything, she created life too soft for me. You know, she tried to, you know what I'm saying? But a lot of my homeboys were the normal hood story. My mom's a crackhead, my dad's a crackhead, my uncles, my cousins are selling dope, and everybody's strapped. You know what I'm saying? And so I would go over to the homie's house, and little does my mom know, I'm over at the dope house. I'm spending days after school. My mom doesn't even realize this. I'm around dope. I'm in the trap house my whole life. You know what I'm saying? Or the whole day. And basically, he saw his parents doing that. And then I wouldn't even realize it. He'd come over for Pop-Tarts and a banana every day. That was his thing, his routine, right? And it was a funny routine, and he's going to see this and remember it. But I didn't know he was coming over high as a kite. He had been up for 2-3 days. I didn't even know it. And I give him a lot of respect. And the reason I brought that up was because, like you said, a lot of time they're robbing without you not caring who it is. Somehow or another, this man at that age managed to keep it under wraps that he was doing that. And he never stole from me or nothing and kept it solid. You know what I mean? It's pretty impressive. But yeah, so that's around the age I started getting into seeing what life was out there.
So as far as like living in Vegas at that young age, I know, I mean, dude, they got that college preparatory school out there. I forgot the name. Snoop Dogg's son went there. And
Gorman.
Gorman, Dana White's kids go. I mean, dude, they recruit from all over. Yeah. And then you have, you know, and that's like the nice area. I think was that Henderson?
Yeah, Henderson is a great area.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Okay. And then you got North Las Vegas. That ain't no joke.
No joke.
Yeah.
West side of Las Vegas ain't no joke either.
Okay.
Like a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people think that It's only California gangs that came here. We have, I don't want to say the gangs' names because I'm
yeah.
not involved with that stuff.
Yeah.
But there are gangs that originated from here. I'll just say one of them, Gerson Park, is from Las Vegas. You know what I mean? I mean, that started in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
There are some old school guys in this city that I've met personally that are born and raised in Vegas and are real life hardcore gangsters. You know what I mean? They're OGs now.
Yeah,
But like they were born and raised here and been thugging and really getting down and did, 8, 10, 12-year stretches, from Vegas. And a lot of people don't think that gang stuff comes out here. And compared to LA and stuff, don't get me wrong, it's definitely not, we're a small spot, you know what I mean? But there are definitely some real horrible areas. Northtown is one of them. West side of Vegas is another spot. The east side of Las Vegas is very drug infested, real bad. You want to see poverty, go on Nellis and Lake Mead, Cheyenne, and shoot down there towards Hollywood. I mean, it's real bad.
So it's a big disparity because you say you have people who are out there thinking, the Strip and MGM and Trump Casino and Caesar's Palace, and then you got people down there who are just barely making it.
Walk 5 minutes off the Strip. Go on the back where Tupac got shot down there on Cobalt and stuff. Walk over, go from your hotel room and just walk 5-10 minutes down the other way and go into the Seagull Suites, the budget suites. I dare you. You know what I mean? They have that tourist, kind of look at you. You're gonna get got. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it ain't La La Land.
You're either an undercover or you're a tourist, and either way, you're probably gonna get got. You know what I mean? So.
What was the incident that actually got you caught up, man?
Yeah, man. So here's what happened. So I steered away from the drugs, but it became very cool to just be a real one. And what did that mean at that time? In the mid 2000s, it started evolving from catching hands, like when you were getting down hurt, to not even stabbing. It's more about shooting. All of a sudden, there were certain cliques. Click banging started in Vegas. And what the click banging was, there are hoods here in Vegas. Real hoods, named after the street and everything, where there's projects here. And basically, different projects, their cousins were from these projects, and their cousin or brother was from these projects. So they would click up. So now you got the so-and-so Crips and the so-and-so Bloods. Put the beef to the side. We're from this clique. Then you got this other clique. And basically they started airing out house parties. So me and my people would be at a house party somewhere, and it's going to get shot up. For whatever reason, 06, 05, 06, 07, 08, these cliques started blowing at each other during these house parties. Home invasions, homicides, all these things started clicking up, or started adding up in Vegas. I mean, like we'd never seen before. So I was in the middle of this, and I was a 15, 16-year-old kid in the heart of this. And what happened was, I'm playing basketball at a Boys and Girls Club, and it's inner city. And so there's a lot of older kids that are coming, and they're not even kids sometimes, 19, 20-year-old men hooping with us, right? That just didn't make it. They didn't go to college, they're dropped out of high school, and they're just hanging out with kids. They're gangbanging now. So I see these guys, and to me, they're the shit. You know what I mean? I mean, these dudes are awesome. They're big, they're strong, everybody respects them. And I love the way they dress, the way they act, how much respect they get. At this point in my life, by the time I was 15 years old, I was so tired of getting bullied and stepped on that I was willing to do anything to get my respect and to be above board when it comes to this pecking order stuff. You know what I mean? And the only way I saw that was you gotta get on somehow. You gotta get down. You gotta do something or be from somewhere. So long story short, a couple dudes that I played basketball with took me to a neighborhood by Clark High School and Penwood Apartments. And man, I saw 15, 20 people out there rapping, smoking, chilling, guns everywhere. Just I mean, the hood, you know what I mean? And I really saw it, and it wasn't far from where I lived, but I just remember seeing it and just thinking, like, this is it. Like, they were kind of cordial to me, right? Because the dudes that brought me over there were already from there.
Yeah, respect it.
So they were like, yo, the homie, little homie. No, they came up, handed me a brew, you know what I'm saying? Passing me the blunt like I was part of everything. And for the first time in my life, I was a part of something. And that night, I told them, I want to be from here, you know? And they did. They put me on that night, man. I caught the fade with 3 different people in one night. And I had never stood my ground and caught fades like that before. I'm used to running because I'm by myself. Slap a white boy Wednesday. You know what I mean? You're walking home from school, you're getting jumped by 2-3 people because you're white, you know? And And that sounds funny because a lot of the time it's a reverse role, but for me, this is what I went through, you know? And so for these people to accept me and just be cool with me kicking it. And so over a period of a month, I mean, I got deep. It wasn't just enough for me to be a part of this clique or this hood or whatever it was. I needed to be like talked about all the time. Like I want to be respected. Now it's like, now I'm here. Now I got homies and stuff. That's awesome. We could run down on somebody. We get down all the time. Stuff was happening, but it's like, I want to do more. I want you guys to like, I want to be like a sergeant. You know what I'm saying? I want to be in charge. I want to move up. So it's like, I turned into a maniac, man. They handed me a gun. There was a guy that I met at the Boys and Girls Club that was much older than me, and he was the true meaning of with the business. Anytime we'd be at a house party, he's in the middle. There's a scuffle, he's in the middle of it. He don't care how big, how little, how tall, how short, how many guns you got. He doesn't matter. He's ready to die right there on the spot. You're not going to let your nuts hang on this guy. You know what I'm saying? And I looked up to him so much, and he took me under his wing. And I adopted his mindset. And that's when I really got, you know, I had never been arrested before. Never really done time. Didn't really understand the consequences of what I was doing, you know? But I was like on a high. It was like I slipped high, you know what I mean? And I was just on this crazy high of power, you know, robbing people. And that's what ended up happening. So without rambling too much, basically how this whole story really started is I meet this guy who I explain how I adopt his personality. I'm from this gang now. And we pull up to a convenience store one day. And he's like, he pulls my hoodie over my head and he squeezes the strings. Boom. And he's like, don't bring your face out. Let's go in here. We walk in, robs both registers, puts everybody on the ground that was inside the store, 2 or 3 people in the store, makes them lay down. He's like, make sure nobody moves. Grabs the cash. We run out, jump in my, I had an IROC.
Oh yeah.
I had an IROC with the T-tops.
Yeah.
And it had no plates because it was new register. We just kept re-registering for the 30-day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm 15. I'm not old enough to drive, but I can drive with somebody 21 or older. So he was over 21, and I got my permit. So anyway, so we jump in that. It's not real plates, right? So it's like we didn't feel like we could really be traced like that, and we weren't thinking. But anyway, so we hit that first lick, and I was like, whoa. So we just robbed a convenience store. You know what I mean? He's like, yeah. He's like, we could do this all the time. We do this all the time. I'm like, damn. He's like, you want to hit another one? I'm like, let's do it. Hit 4 or 5 stores the first night. Just like that. I go from being a kid to within 30, 60 days, 4 or 5 stores the first night I ever committed robbery. And it spiraled from there.
Do you think your mom had any clue what you were doing?
This is what we told my mom. And my mom broke down in court over this. When I introduced this man, this guy, when I say that he was built, man, I mean, he's like you are. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's a big guy, real shredded, even younger. You know what I'm saying? So the body fat's even less. So you can see the veins and stuff popping out. I told my mom he was a basketball player for UNLV. And my mom knows I love basketball. And I was having a lot of problems with school. So we dropped out of high school. I started going to like this fake online high school. You know what I'm saying? Where you can still do your stuff and get your diploma. And so she thinks I'm going to school, but I'm riding around with a kid that plays basketball for UNLV. She thinks this is a grown man who took me under his wing and is taking care of me. So she lets us ride. Now, did she know some stuff was going on? She had to feel something because I was never home. I started disappearing for a week at a time. And yeah, man, she would come to find out there was a lot of horrible stuff going on. But she had no real idea. She had an inkling, but we lied to her. The older gentleman that I was with, tricked my mom. He was real slick with the tongue, man. Silver tongue guy, you know what I mean? And so we started hitting licks, and the kids I grew up with started distancing themselves from me because now I'm really a gang member. Now I'll really shoot you.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Now it's like Keegan's wild. Veg's wild. Like he's going out of control now. You know what I mean? Like he's really robbing stores. He's really gangbanging. Like the other day he tripped on someone. So and I love that. I get more high off of that, right? Like stuff like that just started fueling me. And because I had never been arrested, I didn't know what the consequences were of all this stuff. There was no, you're going to eventually get arrested. You're 15, 16. Your brain is not, I'm not thinking years ahead, right? I'm thinking, I'm living in the moment.
Yeah.
And that's how it turned into. And then it turned into me just being in the hood every day. Like I was born into it.
Yeah.
You know?
You got addicted.
got addicted to the lifestyle, addicted to the money wasn't great because you're only going to get $80, $90 out of the cash register.
Yeah.
You're risking your life in prison over $90.
That's crazy. But, and a lot of young people don't even get that, man. It's like you think about it like at the time and you think, oh man, this is gangster. But you're like, gangster for this? Dude, your whole life is on a scale for this? And I mean, dude, you can be shot in the process, all type of stuff. It's all type of risks to that, and it's not the payoff at the end of the day when you reflect back on it. Like, dude, that's peanuts.
Yes, it's nothing. You can go work a temp job and make more money than you're going to get out of that register. But for me, it was nothing to do with the money. For the older guy, I think he needed to pay his bills, and he didn't really want to handle his business. You know what I'm saying? So, like,
he was really robbing.
He was really robbing. He was getting it how he lived. He
Yeah.
really was. You know what I'm saying? But he had me running down on people, and this dude was so wild. We would be driving, and we would see a guy, a big old dude in his prime type stuff. You know what I'm saying? With a watch or something on, and he would jump out single-handed, just boom from the side, take him. I seen this guy one time, man. We would wait for guys to come out of the bar drunk, right? Easy hits, you know. They usually give it right up or just knock him out, and that wasn't my plan. That was his plan.
Yeah.
One time, man, he grabbed this Mexican dude, hat on, minding his business, walking home. Probably spent the last money he had on some beers. The homie runs up on him, tells him to break it off. Dude doesn't break it off. He breaks him off, puts him to sleep. He has nothing on him. I'm like, well, what the hell? I'm like, we got to get the hell out of here. He picks him up. He rolls him over to his face in the middle of the street. In Vegas, in the middle of a residential street. Grabs him by the back of his belt loop, back of his shirt, and tries to slide him under a car.
Damn.
And he left him halfway out with one shoe on, hanging out from under the car. And, it was just stuff like that all the time. And it got to a point where one time, it started turning into me going into the stores, him becoming the getaway driver.
Yeah.
Now he's
It
not.
flipped. Now you're
I'm
doing all the dirt. Yeah.
Doing all the dirt. One time he tells me, he goes, listen, if one of these women or one of these men, somebody in one of these stores opens their mouth, just shoot them.
Damn.
And I'm like, that's when my brain turned on. And I was like, no. In my head, I'm like, no, I'm not shooting nobody. Nobody gets hurt when we do this.
Yeah.
You knocked out some men.
Yeah.
You ran up on them head. You caught a cool fade with a drunk or whatever. That's fine. But we're not hurting kids. We're not hurting women. And I'm not shooting people for no reason. You know what I'm saying? So I would have kept going with the scenario, but it probably would have turned into a homicide.
Yeah.
Eventually, because he was he wanted to shoot somebody.
Yeah.
He was really crazy, man, and that's what ended up doing. And so what ended up happening is the stupidest story you'll ever hear, especially when you realize what happens at the end. We're on a rampage one night. We're hitting, I don't know, we've hit like 10 stores, and so we cleared out Vegas. So we start hitting Henderson, clear out Henderson. Now we're in Summerlin. Well, we made a mistake going to Summerlin. This whole time we had been on the news. People robbing stores. When you rob stores every single night,
it's
start catching on.
That's a circulating.
And we don't watch the news, so we don't know. And people are calling us. This is back when chirps were big. You remember when?
Nextel.
And Luda and Jeezy and them were in the commercials, and you could chirp.
Well, I was locked up during that time.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, though. Yeah.
You hit the chirps. So boom, we'd get close. The homies would chirp us. You guys need to chill out, bro. It's like, we know what you guys are doing. You guys need to slow down. You know what I'm saying? Like, we get it. You guys are tough guy, whatever, but like, slow down. You guys need to get locked up. Like, homies who actually cared a little bit. You know what I mean? And we were like, chime out. You know what I'm saying? We're doing what we do. This is how we get it. So one night, we hit all the stores we could, and this guy stops in McDonald's, like 5 minutes from the last store we hit. We had gotten so arrogant and got away with so many robberies over the last couple months that we just pulled right into a McDonald's right down the street from what we robbed. And I'll never forget this. I'm sitting, I can see it clear as day. I'm sitting in the passenger seat and I look over at him and he rubs my head like I'm his little homie. You know what I mean? We got a grip of cash in there to me, 500, 600 grip of cash to me at the time. And I look up and I see a helicopter. There's ghetto birds all the time in Vegas, everywhere, all the time. Nothing new. And I'm like, man, imagine if that helicopter was for us. And imagine if we went to jail, right? That's why I'm laughing about it in my head. And we pull up, quarter pounder with cheese, no onions, no pickles. I will never forget it. Got the burger, smelled bomb as hell. Long day of being an idiot, robbing people. We pull out the drive-thru. We get on the street and I hear tires. Sounds like an accident.
Yeah.
Flip my head back, 20 squad units. Ghetto birds on us. Boom. Light hits the thing. The homie looks over, or I look over at the homie. Homie looks over at me. He's like, don't say nothing. No matter what, keep your mouth shut. And this is when I realized something, man. Like, I looked over at him and I was like, listen. I was like, I'm not telling on you, bro. I love you. Like, we had gotten into so much stuff. Nobody in my life ever had my back the way he did. We would jump out on 5 people. He's a kid. He's a guy with a kid fighting 3-4 grown men. Me and him getting into scuffles, doing stuff against real other men. He's got a kid. He never ran on me. Even when we got the worst of it, he stayed there until it was over. He never left me. You know what I'm saying? So to me, it was like, you held me down. You're the only person besides my mother to ever hold me down. I'm not telling on you. Fuck do you mean? You know what I mean? And so anyway, he pulls out the center console, tried to stuff. We were selling so much weed at that time too. Stuff, and we had some bomb ass weed back when in Vegas didn't have good weed like that, you know. Stuff it in the center console. I take my 22, he takes the 9 and the 38. We were trying to stuff them in there. Cops come, K9. They got the guns out. Passenger first. Put the keys out. Passenger first. They put me in the back of the car. They're like, we finally got you guys. Because they got the cash, the gloves, the guns. They know what they've been looking for. A white kid robbing liquor stores. A 15-year-old white kid. How many of those are out there right now? This is probably him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With a black getaway driver in an IROC. This is them. And so he goes, we finally got you guys. And I sat in the back of the car and I look up at the cop and I'm like, it hits me like, oh, it's over. The ride's over. You know what I mean? It's been a hell of a ride the last 3-4 months, but it's over. And they take us right to, there's a spot on Jones. I think it's not Sahara. It's a little bit down. Might be Jones and Spring Mountain. There's a big building across the street from the Fantastic Swap Meet. I never knew what that building was for. Turns out it was a interrogation building. Drove in there. They bring us up. And the funny thing was the cars, while we were going to the questioning, the cars were next to each other, and he would look over and be like he couldn't really bring his hands up, but he would be like, don't talk. He kept telling me, don't talk. And we get up there. The detective comes in. He sits down, slams a paper or a folder full of papers, pictures of me. All pictures of me, hundreds of them, stacked like this high, like 2 dictionaries big. All pictures of me, every store. I mean, they I think they got details from every single store we ever did.
Surveillance photos, everything.
Everything. And like we got so arrogant, it went from the hoodie being down to the hoodie being up here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm 15 and I keep getting away with it. Nobody's getting hurt. I'm not getting hurt. I'm just grabbing cash registers. And, we would shoot the gun off inside the store. I would let a round off.
Oh, so you're just charging in a public environment?
Yes. Endangering human life, too.
Yeah. Public endangerment.
Yes. And assault with a deadly weapon. You point a gun
every
at someone,
time,
assault.
every time. Yeah, assault, yeah.
Assault with a deadly weapon, boom, discharge into the Gatorades and stuff. What if somebody was back there stocking it? I could have killed somebody. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, so we get up there, detective slams the folder in front of me. He's like, it's over, bro. You know what I'm saying? He's like, you're 15? He's like, this dude over here is in his, he's holding, this is endangering a child. He goes, and he calls my mom, and he puts her on the phone, and he tells her, you need to tell your son to come clean about this stuff. We just arrested him for this and this. Puts me on the phone, and I hear her voice. Is that right? And she's trying to act tough with me. She's trying to be hard, like I'm gonna whoop you or, ground you.
Yeah.
She can't. She breaks down. She goes, so you're robbing stores? And she breaks. She goes, last night I got on my knees and prayed that whatever you were doing would come to a stop. And that's the same night I get arrested. 3, 4 in the morning. She got on her knees. She said, I hadn't seen you in 7 days. Don't know what you've been. I know it wasn't good. I knew you were doing crazy stuff. Got on my knees last night and prayed it would stop. She goes, what are we going to do now? And I was like, I don't know. He took the phone back. He's like, your son's going to tell me exactly what happened, every store, all the details, all the drugs they've been selling, everything. He hangs up the phone, and they play good cop, bad cop, and I end up looking at him dead in the eyes and saying, I want a lawyer.